May 8th, 2024. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're doing well. As I always say, if this is your first time joining me, let me introduce myself. I'm David Greenwald. I'm the founder of Leanness Lifestyle University. For 25 years now and counting, we've been helping our clients get to and live at the healthy weight they choose in the body and with the fitness they desire so they can live their best life. For first timers, if this is your first state of fitness with me, I discuss anything weight management, anything health, anything fitness oriented, anything that's top of mind for the week with you in mind, okay? So this state of fitness is my 209th since February 5th of 2020. So a few weeks back, I ran across a video clip where the podcast host, Ed Millett, and his guest, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon M.D., they were discussing walking. Okay, you might have seen this. It's made the rounds if you're on social at all, but most of you probably haven't. So here we go. Have a listen.
Walking is great. Do not count that as exercise.
I'm so glad you said that. It is the strange. I don't know when that started.
I don't know either. And if we don't challenge the way,
I feel it's like the last 5 or 8 years. Like, so walking is exercise? What the hell is that?
This is activity of daily living.
Right, like humans walk. Exactly. Like, that's not exercise.
Exactly.
Like, talk about the lowest possible standard. Like, I don't mean to offend anybody, but like, I mean, maybe if you haven't worked out in forever, start with a walk. But my gosh, you're not exercising. Right. Come to a gym with me and you'll see someone exercise, right?
Yep.
right. It's not exercise. No, right. I don't mean to offend anybody, but if you haven't worked out in forever, start a walk. But you're not, come to a gym with me. I have some problems with what they said, as you can probably tell. I'm having a hard time keeping it together here. With their dialogue, I'm having some problems just overall, with the whole thing, making fun of it, laughing and talking about how stupid people are for considering walking exercise. On one hand, you've got a physician, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, is like a physician, MD, and we have Ed Millett, who's a global speaker and author and podcast host, and in case you couldn't tell, I think they both need to go straight to jail, social media jail, for the dialogue. But why? First, straight to jail if you use the word like more than 3 times in 15 seconds. Most of us use it. I get it. It's a filler word. Come on. It always bothers, in all of that, the dialogue, it always bothers me more when otherwise smart people, they both are obviously, when otherwise smart people say dumb things, especially when those people have a huge platform with a massive megaphone, which they do. What a shame it is to use that platform to spread misinformation and, dare I say, even harmful information like they did here. Harmful? Harmful how? Shaming people who walk for daily exercise? Who walks for daily exercise? Raise your hand. No doubt discouraging some from doing it when they had just started, but might have seen the clip and thought, why bother? Can't even get credit for that. Doesn't count, doesn't matter. These two have millions of followers between them. They're influential, and their circle of influence is huge. Okay? What a shame. What a shame. There are 4 things that I want to tackle that I hope will turn this turd of a conversation they had into a teachable moment. What are activities of daily living? Dr. Lyon said that walking is just an activity of daily living. What is that? What is exercise? See if it is. What is exercise? Is walking exercise? And what good is walking no matter what it is? Okay? So first, let's look at activities of daily living. According to the National Institutes of Health, activities of daily living are skills required to manage one's basic physical needs, including personal hygiene or grooming, dressing, toileting, transferring or ambulating, and eating. ADL is used as an indicator of a person's functional status. The inability to perform ADLs results in the dependence of other individuals and/or mechanical devices. The inability to accomplish essential activities of daily living may lead to unsafe conditions and poor quality of life. Measurement of an individual's ADL is important as these are predictors of admission to nursing homes, need for alternative living arrangements, hospitalization, and use of paid home care. The outcome of a treatment program can also be assessed by reviewing a patient's ADLs. In 2011, the United States National Health Interview Survey determined that 20.7% of adults aged 85 or older, 7% of those aged 75 to 84, and 3.4% of those aged 65 to 74 needed help with ADLs. All right, for every single person listening to me now or whenever you find this, the ADLs are or are going to become a key reason that you eat well, stay active, hopefully strength train, and strive to achieve a reasonably healthy weight. Aspirations like hiking up a mountain, fantastic. Let's go. Do it. I love it. But if we lose our ability to perform activities of daily living, we're going to need others for daily self-care. None of us wants that. And I can speak from 30 years of experience when I say many of you have in your whys some version of you never being a burden to others as you age, and or being able to take care of yourself until it's your time to go. Raise your hand if you want to be a burden to others and need others for daily self-care. Yeah, no one. Raise your hand if you want to live independently, going and doing as you please until the final moment of the final chapter. So Dr. Lyon M.D., no less, stated walking is an activity of daily living. That's all it is. It's an activity of daily living. Remaining ambulatory, walking, sure, it is. But she also said not to count it as exercise. Her opinion, got it, her opinion. In a profession, though, in a profession thought of just barely less than how many think of God. She's an MD. There's probably not a profession that is given the elevated status of respect that a medical doctor has. She's got a big following, big potential for influence. So, hey, if she's going to say something that could impact tens of thousands of listeners as a medical professional, she's got to be right, doesn't she? I mean, don't count walking as exercise. Medical doctor, millions of followers, she understands that she has that influence and that her words can influence people in that way with who she is and who she has the ability to influence because of her platform, right? Let's take a look. What is exercise? Well, according to the Oxford Language Dictionary, it's an activity requiring physical effort carried out to sustain or improve health and fitness. And according to Webster's Dictionary, it's bodily exertion for the sake of developing and maintaining physical fitness. So, when we go strictly by most definitions of exercise, not all physical activity is exercise. The intent, the purpose of the activity matters by definition. So we generally know what activities of daily living are now, okay? We know what exercise is. So I think we can say that walking is an activity of daily living and it can be exercise. Not all walking is exercise by the strict rule of the definition, but I'll say this, all walking is physical activity, and in nearly every instance, it's better than not walking. So when is walking exercise? Well, by definition, it's when it's done for developing or maintaining health and fitness. And now on to the fourth question I want to answer. What good is walking? Honestly, there's so much positive research out there on the benefits of walking for mental and emotional health, physical health, disease risk reduction, longevity. We'd literally be here a month if we wanted to go through all the research, published research that's out there, let alone, all of the just, empirical, and just by word of mouth statements, that are out there from the millions and millions of people who love doing it and benefit from it. So let's not spend all day, but let's go through some of the benefits or some of the benefits of exercise. All right, so first of all, walking is one of the most popular forms of exercise worldwide. It doesn't require expensive equipment or special skills, and it provides a wide range of health benefits, which I'm going to talk about. So whether you choose to do it outdoor, on a solitary path in nature, you're on a busy route with city sidewalks, you do it on a treadmill or a few rounds around your office building, walking is a relatively accessible way to stay active. It's really good for the cardiovascular system. It's cardiovascular physical activity, increases your heart rate, improves blood flow, and can lower blood pressure. It helps to boost energy levels by releasing certain hormones like endorphins and delivering oxygen through the body. Brisk walking is considered a moderate intensity, low impact workout that does not exert too much stress and strain on the joints, hips, knees, ankles, low back, that are all susceptible to injury with higher impact workouts. Okay? It's kind of my little prep warm up here as we go through the benefits. Many people think that walking is not as effective as higher impact workouts. Yet a large cohort study of runners and walkers found that after 6 years of follow-up, when expending an equal amount of energy, moderate intensity offered similar benefits as higher intensity running, moderate intensity walking that is, in reducing the risk of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. The faster the walking pace, the greater the risk reduction observed. You're going to hear that theme kind of throughout this. The faster the walking pace, the greater the risk reduction observed. The 2018 Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans recommends that adults with chronic conditions do at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity weekly if able. Walking is an exercise that meets this aerobic component and is associated with improving high blood pressure and body mass index and lowering the risk of diabetes, stroke, and cardiovascular disease and early death. Walking speed, duration, and frequency can be adjusted depending on one's starting fitness level so that almost everyone can participate in walking as exercise. What about cardiovascular disease? Walking is often recommended to people with cardiovascular disease by their doctors because it is a relatively safe way for them to be more active. A meta-analysis of 32 randomized controlled trials found that walking increased aerobic capacity of the heart, lowered blood pressure, and reduced body mass index and body fat. What about diabetes? For diabetes, walking helps control blood glucose by using glucose for energy and improving insulin sensitivity. The longer and more intense the walking, the greater glucose control. However, even interrupting long periods of sitting with 3 to 5 minutes of light walking every 30 minutes can improve blood glucose control in overweight and obese individuals. The American Diabetes Association recommends a minimum of 150 minutes weekly of aerobic exercise, of moderate to vigorous exercise like brisk walking, spread over at least 3 days a week with no more than 2 consecutive days without activity. Here, totally agree with that, 1,000%. Further improvements in diabetes control are seen when adding 2 to 3 sessions weekly of resistance/strength training. Exercises on non-consecutive days using elastic, resistance bands, free weights, weight machines, or body weight exercises. Here to that, right? It's always a part of it. At least 2 strength sessions a week, non-consecutive days, for the purpose of improving strength in a way that is measurable. That's what's ideal, for the purpose of improving strength in a way that is measurable. What about walking and sleep? A walking intervention was conducted in 490 healthy adults, half of whom had been exercising regularly, and the other half who did not exercise. Both groups participated in the intervention of walking 10,000 steps for 4 weeks. That was daily, and used the self-reported sleep quality questionnaire. The study found that in the non-exercise group, significant improvements were reported in perceived sleep quality, sleep duration, and sleep latency, in other words, the time to fall asleep, for the now new walkers. About sleep and depression. Walking appears to have a positive impact on mental health, with the most evidence for depression. Some research also shows benefit for anxiety, stress, and loneliness. There may be positive effects on mental health related to the walking setting, such as in forests, parks, and other outdoor and natural environments. What about mortality, as in death? A meta-analysis of 196 prospective cohort studies involving more than 30 million adults looked at the effects of differing amounts of exercise on the risk of early death. They found that Participants who reported meeting minimum exercise guidelines of 150 minutes weekly of moderate intensity exercise had a 31% lower risk of dying early compared with those who did not exercise at all. But even those who exercised half that amount at 75 minutes weekly benefited with a 23% lower risk of death. This translates, by the way, to 11 minutes daily of a brisk walk, dancing to 3 favorite high-energy songs, or parking in the furthest spot from a building and taking a roundabout path to the entrance. Part of the reason for greater longevity was a decreased risk of chronic diseases like heart disease and certain cancers. The authors noted that if everyone met half the recommended exercise guidelines, 1 in 10 premature deaths would be prevented. Let's take a note on walking pace a second. What about walking pace? Well, moderate intensity activity is defined, just any activity that's moderate intensity is defined as activities that expend 3 to 6-fold the energy expenditure of sitting at rest. So in exercise science terms, it's 3 to 6 metabolic equivalents, also referred to as METs, 3 to 6 METs. So 3 to 6 METs means that you are expending 3 to 6-fold the energy compared to sitting at rest. That's moderate intensity, 3 to 6-fold. Those that expend more than the 6, that's more vigorous. Those that expend less than the 3, that's considered light. For walking, that can vary on an individual basis, right? The more in shape you are, the faster you're going to have to walk for it to be moderate. And the more deconditioned and out of shape you are, you might find that a 2.5 miles per hour walk is moderate. Generally, 3 to 4 miles per hour for walking is considered a moderate intensity walking pace. 3 to 4 generally. Could be 3.2 to 4.2, could be 3.5 to 4.5. Generally speaking, 3 to 4 is considered a moderate intensity walking pace. A growing body of research has shown that the faster the walking pace, the greater the health benefits. A physician's health study found that participants who walked regularly had a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease and early death from cardiovascular disease compared with those who didn't walk regularly. The greatest benefits were in those who walked 3 miles per hour or faster, means a brisk or very brisk pace. But those walking 2 to 2.9 miles per hour, a normal pace, also saw a protective benefit compared with those not walking regularly. All right, let's talk about 10,000 steps a day a minute, okay? Do we really need to get to 10,000 steps a day? We've all heard that 10,000 steps a day is the pinnacle, it's the goal, it's what we should all be striving for. Well, in past lessons and lives, I've discussed this, and I've discussed in those lives and lessons that this benchmark of 10,000 steps a day is not actually based on science so much, but it was created in the 60s as a marketing tactic by a Japanese company making what? Making what? Pedometers. Making pedometers, right? So, I'm very much not against striving for 10,000 steps a day. If that's your goal and you want to go for it, I'm all in with you. 100% behind you with it. Let's go. Just know this. The average number of steps for an American, daily steps for an American, is about 4,800 steps a day. So is there really any science to stepping it up beyond the 5,000 steps a day, which is kind of the average for Americans? I'm going to say it's probably more like 3,000 to 5,000. Sometimes the research is a little bit behind. But anywhere, right in there. Is there any science for stepping up the walking to get closer to the 10,000? Generally, yes, up to a point. Research finds that all the health and longevity benefits increase up to about 7,000 or 8,000 steps a day. Beyond that, the benefits are not markedly better or anything better that will stand out in research once you get past about 7,000 or 8,000 steps a day. What I've taught for years now, because time is so precious and none of us gets more than 24 hours in a day, and most of us feel pressured for time in one way, shape, form, or another, some more than others. And what I've taught for years now is that once you hit about 6,000 steps a day, if you have to choose, because of time, if you have to choose between walking another 4,000 steps, which by the way, which gets you to those 10,000 steps, The 4,000 extra steps is about 2 miles. It's about 2,000 steps a mile, varying depending on height of the person and everything else, but about 2,000 steps a mile. And to get those extra 4,000 steps in, that's about a 45-minute walk at 3 miles an hour. Okay? So if you have the choice and you've got 6,000 steps in between going another 4,000, and time is crunched, time is very, very precious. If that's the case, I'd rather you prep the food than go the extra 4,000 steps. I'd rather you take the time, 45 minutes, that's a decent amount of time for food prep. I'd rather you take the 45 minutes, because a lot of times the 10,000 steps goal is daily. If you dedicated 45 minutes to food prep, holy moly, daily? Anyway, anytime you can do it, anything's better than nothing, right? So 4,000 steps, instead of that, once you've got 6,000 in, if time is of the essence, time is really, really precious, then I recommend that you spend the time doing food prep. You're going to get a much, much bigger return on your investment of time, especially when you are in action and in fat loss action mode. Use the 45 minutes for food prep instead of walking, if it's a choice and you're in action, for sure. Okay. So I said I wanted to answer at the top of this. I said I wanted to answer 4 questions. How'd I do? So question 1 was, what are activities of daily living? Simple, quick answer is fundamental skills required for independently caring for oneself. Fundamental skills required to independently care for yourself. Number 2, what is exercise? Well, it's activity requiring physical effort carried out. This is where intent comes in for exercise. Carried out to sustain or improve health and fitness. So, the incidental walking you do at work would not so much be considered exercise. It is activity. It does burn more calories than sitting or standing, right? Or lying. But it wouldn't really be considered exercise 99% of the time, because it isn't really being done with that intent for the purpose of improving health and fitness. So that's a distinction when it comes to exercise, which is one of the reasons when it comes to logging exercise on campus, I ask you all to, as much as you possibly can, be conservative and only log the exercise, not all physical activity that you do in a day. Okay? Third question, is walking exercise? It depends, but it certainly can be, and most certainly is if it's sustained at a moderate intensity, probably in that 3 to 4 miles per hour pace. And again, maybe slower to qualify as moderate if you're out of shape, very deconditioned, and maybe at a faster pace to qualify as moderate if you're in really great shape already. And then the fourth thing was, what good is walking? What good is it? Gee, I don't know. Let's see. Boosts energy levels. It's low impact, so it has less strain on joints. Reduces the risk of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. Lowers the risk of cardiovascular disease. Helps control blood glucose and improves insulin sensitivity for diabetes management. Aids in weight control and reduces body weight, body mass index, waist circumference, and fat mass. Improves sleep quality, sleep duration, and time to fall asleep. People fall asleep faster when they do it. Has a positive effect on mental health, particularly depression, anxiety, stress, and loneliness. Reduces the risk of early death from chronic diseases like heart disease and certain cancers. Ever since I started being a coach, especially online, so that's since 1999, currently 25 years and going, I've always discussed positively when it comes to walking. I've promoted walking and discussed it in a very positive way. But I'm going to say, Coach David at age 59, compared to Coach David at 34, believes much more strongly in the benefits of walking. I would say, while there haven't been dozens of, say, large-scale fundamental shifts in what I believe when it comes to the transformation journey, because I don't generally just blow with the wind and whatever the latest gimmick is, and the latest trend and all that kind of stuff. I kind of stick with the basics and the core and the fundamentals. But I do have some things that I feel very different about now compared to when I was in my 20s, 30s, or whatever. And walking, while I was always positive, I feel much, much, much more positive about it now than I did 25 years ago. And even more so when possible, walking outside in the daylight, in nature, when possible. One of the things that shifted it for me was a while back, Mary's role, COVID and various things, Mary's role and all of that shifted, and she was able to work remotely for a bit. So we were able to spend some extended periods of time in warmer climates in the South during the cold, harsh winters that we normally get here in Illinois. And this is just one of the things that shifted it, but it really, really just was kind of like, oh, this is it. And we were able to do 5-6 walks a day. Maybe not long ones, but we were able to do a morning walk, sunlight, afternoon, sunlight, near sundown, sunset. And it was truly so much better than in Illinois winter, where you either can't walk outside or you've got to bundle up unbelievably, and you're just less likely to do it in the amount and the frequency, because it's cold. It's harsh at times. So you can walk inside, you can do this and that. But being able to walk outside with the frequency and the duration that we were able to do it was, I would say, the thing that just pushed me over the edge. And I was like, oh, because we both noticed just such a positive impact on our mood, our mindset, mental health. It also seemed like it was, it's not a miracle, but it felt like, a caloric miracle. We were just so much more active just in walking that it was more forgiving on what we could eat. It wasn't like you couldn't eat with abandon. It was still all LLU. It was still NFL 15 principles, right? The 15 fundamentals. It was all still there. But the portion size could be a bit more. The serving size could be a bit more. You could have a bigger portion and you'd be like, body fat is lower, if anything else, not higher. And so there were benefits there too. But that was secondary to the physical, mental benefits. Plus, if you can do it with someone else, walk and talks are just really, really nice. It's a really, really great way to spend some time together, kind of disconnect from the digital verse, and get some really, really quality time. If you can do it with someone else. What it does for the body, the calorie burn, great, nice benefits, but what it can do for our headspace, that all too important mental health aspect area, I just believe more strongly that we all need to protect our mental health as much as possible now. We always have, but I'm going to say in 2024, even more so now than maybe we ever have. All right, so that's it. That wraps up this week's State of Fitness. Until next time, let's focus on what we want. Let's be grateful for what we already have. And remember, it's all happening perfectly. Bye-bye for now.